Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News here on Newsfirst, where the people come first. You're joining me, Naveksha Gunasekar, and we start off by taking a look at your headlines. Women for Rights hold protest near Parliament. IUSF organises more protests, calling for release of Mudalige and Sirida Matero. Probe into Oman human trafficking continues. CID team deployed to Oman and the UAE. Daily power outages hamper Sri Lanka's tourism industry. Will the president sell off Sri Lanka's hydropower plants? AKD's revelation. FIFA World Cup 2022. Which teams will qualify for the last 16? In your top story, a protest staged near Parliament on Wednesday morning by the Women for Rights organisation was obstructed by police.
The Women's for Rights organisation staged a protest at the Poldua Junction this morning against the government for increasing the cost of living, taxation and education. Heavy police presence was seen near the Poldua intersection. The police instructed the organisers to stage the protest near the Dietu Uena at the Poldua intersection. However, the protesters did not agree. Later, the group protested from either side of the road leading to the parliament at the Poldua intersection. While the protesters were marching towards the parliament, they were obstructed by the police. A heated situation then arose. The protesters then staged the protest by blocking one lane of the road.
The Inter-University Students' Federation has organised a series of protests across the island on Wednesday under the theme Yuktiyodesa Jana Pelagasma.
The protesters are demanding for the immediate release of the convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, Wasatha Mudalige, and the convener of the Inter-University Bhikkhu Federation, Venerable Galwava Sirida Matero. The group is also demanding for the repeal of the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The collective of trade unions and mass organisations distributed brochures opposite the Colombo Fort railway station on Wednesday.
These brochures were distributed with information regarding the protest expected to be held on the 8th of December against the budget presented by the government.
The 8th has been designated as an island-wide protest day. As a collective of trade unions and mass organizations, we have called these protests against the budget. This budget was completely covered by the monetary fund and they've not even put some icing on top. Back then they would at least put some icing. This is a plate of poison. They are trying to feed the people with no sugar coating. The December salary will come after 5,000 rupees has been deducted. We know that in this budget the price inflation in the country has reached more than 95%. People are unable to live, but the solutions to those problems are not discussed in the budget. The budget discusses how to suppress university students, how to expel them, and how to blame monks. They are talking about how to suppress people's struggles.
A decision was reached to send a group of officials from the Criminal Investigation Department and the Foreign Employment Bureau to the United Arab Emirates. The Foreign Employment Bureau says the group will look into Sri Lankans who are in the UAE on tourist visa.
The Foreign Employment Bureau said steps are being taken to repatriate 77 people in the UAE and Oman on tourist visas. The Bureau said an internal investigation was also launched regarding former Third Secretary to the Sri Lankan Embassy in Oman, E. Kushan, who is facing charges over sexual harassment of a woman in Oman. He was remanded till the 13th of December after he was arrested by the CID on Tuesday. An internal investigation was launched against E. Kushan by the Foreign Employment Bureau in March. However, the investigation was dropped due to a lack of evidence. Meanwhile, Newsfirst is still receiving reports of harassment faced by women held at a safe house run by the Sri Lankan Embassy in Oman. WAI Rangani is one such woman trapped in Oman at present. Her family said she was held at the safe house for around 1.5 years. Although she had to be produced before court during this period, her relatives said she was being held in Oman for an unstipulated period of time, as she was not produced before court by the Sri Lankan Embassy in Oman. Her relatives added Irangani is seriously ill and unable to speak.
She went to
the embassy on the 2nd after she was asked to do so. She has been held at the embassy for around 1.5 years. Thereafter, they said a case was filed against her. However, she was not produced before court. She was asked to work as a domestic worker. This was done by Kushan from the embassy. She was handed over to the agency again, where they sold her to other houses. They escaped after that. She was alone in the town for 2 days, where she met a nun. When they looked into it, they discovered that she was found guilty because she was not produced before court. Because of what the officials at the embassy in Oman and Kushan did, my wife was found guilty. She will be handed to the police on the 2nd of this month. My wife is sick. She has fainted and she is weak. She can't even talk. She has been electrocuted twice.
Meanwhile, we were contacted by relatives of a woman who left to Oman for work and was missing for around 8 months. They informed Newsfirst that she was seen in footage we had aired of women being held at the safe house in Oman. Over the past 8 months, they hadn't received any information regarding Somadas Anandakumari, a resident of Kanya Trincomalee, who had left to Oman as a domestic worker in November 2021.
Views were expressed in Parliament over compensation provided to fisher folk affected by the Express Pearl maritime disaster.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa highlighted that a report on compensation provided is yet to be presented in Parliament. He also questioned the government if it has obtained a full report on the damage the maritime disaster has caused to environment of Sri Lanka. He further questioned as to why the members of Parliament have not been notified of these details. Commenting on the compensation that is to be paid for both the fires on board MT New Diamond and then MV Express Pearl, State Minister of Urban Development and Housing Arundhika Fernandes said discussions continue to take place on the matter. He said that the insurance companies, however, have informed the authorities that a set date as to when the compensation can be fully paid cannot be revealed yet. He further pointed that Sri Lanka is continuing to spend dollars on court cases on the matter, including the involvement of Australian attorneys, in order to provide the necessary compensation to those affected. Responding to the State Minister, Opposition Leader Sajith Premadasa said that Sri Lanka lacks the expertise to assess the damage caused. But the State Minister said that Sri Lanka has appointed a committee to obtain the required reports and assessments, although the full report is yet to be presented.
Meanwhile, a protest was held yesterday opposite the Negombo District Secretariat by a group who had not received the third round of compensation for the damage caused by the Express Pearl vessel.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa commented on the statement made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in Parliament on Tuesday.
We know the President is a well-read person, but he said Angulimala worked against Lord Buddha while he was a monk. I believe it is in the Hansard as well. There is a serious mistake in the statement made by the President. Many can make comments based on this incorrect statement. claiming the president does not understand Buddhism and insult him. So I propose to correct the president's statement. What we have heard is that it was Devadatta that worked against Lord Buddha while being in the Buddha Sasana. Angulimala was a Rahat Thero. I would like to ask him which Angulimala Thero in the Buddha Sasana worked against the Buddha. It is human nature to make mistakes. Before you advise others, you must obtain the suitable qualities.
මෙහෙමයි ඉතින් ගුරුන්ටත් අකුරු වැරදි කියලා කියනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ එතුමාට යම් වරදක් සිදු වෙන්න ඇති. ඒක මනුෂ්‍ය ගතියක්. තව දෙකක් මම කියන්න කැමතියි. අත්තානමේව පටමන් පතිරූපේ නිවේසයේ අතඤ්ඤ මනුසාසෙය්‍ය නකිලිස්සෙය්‍ය පඬිතු. අනුන්ට බණ දේශනා කරන්න පෙර තමන් සුදුසු ගුණෙහි පිහිටා සිටීම. ඇත්තෙන්ම මේ අපේ මේ සභාවේ
It is good that the sessions in the house starts with a line from the Dhammapadaya, Vasala Sutraya or the Parabhava Sutraya because it calms our minds.
වසල සූත්‍රයේ මෙහෙමත් කියවේ. නජච්ඡා වසලෝ හෝති නජච්ඡා හෝති බ්‍රාහ්ම කම්මනා වසලෝ හෝති කම්මනා හෝති බ්‍රාහ්ම. ගරු සභානායකතුමා
The leader of the house made an important statement. A person's actions prove what kind of person they are. That is being proven now.
මේ ක්‍රියාවෙන් නම් ඒව ඔප්පු වෙවි යන්නේ කවුද බ්‍රාහ්මණයා කවුද වසලයා කියන එක.
Leader of the National People's Power, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, says President Ranil Wickremesinghe is spearheading efforts to sell hydropower plants in Sri Lanka. He made this statement while addressing the Vikurti Palanena Janatha Palaneta conference held in Bakamuna.
The Rajapaksas were in trouble. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was in a difficult spot, so he chose Ranil Wickremesinghe to save himself. Ranil became the president using the same votes that sent him out during the previous elections. Our country is facing another challenge now. Ranil Wickremesinghe is planning on selling Sri Lanka's hydropower plants. But these hydropower plant owners will benefit only when there is a supply of water. Therefore, an agreement will have to be signed regarding the water rights. If not, they will buy the hydropower plant and water will be sent to paddy fields. The cabinet paper was presented with hydropower plants separately. When the cabinet paper was tabled to sell the Lakshapana hydropower plant, a separate agreement will have to be signed with the Lakshapana reservoir regarding it.
In news overseas, the first drug to slow the destruction of the brain in Alzheimer's has been heralded as momentous and historic.
The research breakthrough ends decades of failure and shows a new era of drugs to treat Alzheimer's, the most common form of dementia, is possible. Yet the medicine, lecanemab, has only a small effect and its impact on people's daily lives is debated. And the drug works in the early stages of the disease, so most would miss out without a revolution in spotting it. Lecanemab attacks the sticky gunge called beta amyloid that builds up in the brains of people with Alzheimer's. For the medical field littered with duds, despair and disappointment, some see these trial results as a triumphant turning point. Alzheimer's Research UK said the findings were momentous.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has been censured by the nation's parliament for giving himself secret powers while in office.
The historic motion follows a damning report which said his actions were corrosive of trust in government. It marks the first time a former Prime Minister has been censured by the House of Representatives. Morrison has defended appointing himself to several ministries, calling the censure retribution by opponents. In August, it emerged that Morrison had become Joint Minister for Health, Finance, Treasury, Home Affairs and Resources in the 2 years before he lost power in May. Most ministers were unaware they were sharing portfolios with Morrison, and he has been widely criticised, including by close colleagues. Morrison, now a backbench MP, has said the decisions were made amid the extraordinary times of the pandemic.
Four more crucial matches of the 2022 FIFA World Cup kick off on Wednesday.
Tunisia take on France at 8:30 p.m. while Australia take on Denmark at the same time.
Have yourself a great day ahead.